Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to our coffee times together. And today I am here to bring you my January reading wrap-up.
It's coffee time!
So the month of January, that was a month that I had high hopes for because my December reading month was not the greatest, and I thought, I can catch up in January. But then in January, my personal life went to hell and I had to go through a lot of stuff and I was not feeling so much like reading. And so I am glad that I managed still to read some books. I did end up reading 8 novels and 1 graphic novel, so I am pretty happy about that. So I'm here to talk to you about some of that, except of 1 novel, because I don't know what came to me, but I have decided I'm going to make an experiment this year. So every month this year I'm going to be reading a book for that specific experiment, so 1 book per month. And at the end of the year, so in December, I will be, sharing with you what the experiment was, what are those books that I'm reading 1 per month. And yeah, so you'll have to wait until December 2020. I know it's a long time to be working on a video, but I don't know. It's just something that occurred to me and I thought, let's try it out, let's try something different and see how it works out for me this year. So yeah, I'm here to talk to you about the other 8 things. So there are 7 novels and 1 graphic novel that I'm here to talk to you about. If you are new to my channel, welcome. We like to do things here with coffee mugs. So my books are going to be rated in coffee mugs, and I always start with the lowest rating so that we all end up on a good positive note with my highest rated books. So let's start. So the lowest rating this month has been 3 coffee mugs, which is not that bad. So with 3 coffee mugs we have Bound for Murder by Victoria Gilbert, and I got a copy of these thanks to NetGalley. And this is those type of feel-good book club thriller books that are kind of like a guilty pleasure. I really enjoyed this one because we are uncovering a mystery that is not about a murder from the present. Normally all of these books tend to be about murders that have just happened. So in this book we follow Amy, and she goes back to her small town to plan her wedding, but she doesn't plan on getting involved in a murder investigation. There is a body that is found that had been buried there for years, and she decides to make her own investigation separate from the police. So I really thought it was really cool that you get to see the whole investigation. She goes and asks people that used to live there back in the day about it and what they think. So that was all very enjoyable, but the novel was a little bit repetitive, and the mystery was nothing that blew me away or anything. It was still enjoyable, but I couldn't give it more than 3 coffee mugs. The next one with 3 coffee mugs is We Are Monsters by Brian Kirk. I also got this one thanks to NetGalley, and I thought it was a new release, but apparently this is a re-release of the book from 2015, I believe it was. So I was hoping to love this book so much more because it is in a mental institution and it involves a guy that it's called the Apocalypse Killer, and I was like, hell yes. But it was kind of messy and it was confusing at times, and I just was expecting a little bit more from it. We basically follow different characters that work at this mental institution, and we see 2 different approaches to medicine. One of the doctors, thinks that it's better to kind of talk to the patients, try to accommodate them, make them happy, and the other one is, just developing a kind of like medicine to cure schizophrenia, experimenting on the patients. So we're getting to know the characters, and there's a point in the book where everything just goes to hell, and we turn this story into sort of what reminded me of a Silent Hill kind of scenario. I don't know, and it got really weird really fast. So even though I really enjoyed the characters and the plot, when we got to that point everything got just so confusing and nothing made sense anymore, and it was hard to follow from that point on a little bit. So that's why I only gave it 3 coffee mugs. With 3.5 coffee mugs I have The Wicked King by Holly Black. After I surrendered and I read The Cruel Prince, I really enjoyed it. I mean, it's not the best fantasy book you will ever read, but there was something about the Cruel Prince that it made it just so enjoyable for me and so much fun. When I got to this one, I was hoping to love it even more. I don't know if it's because it maybe is one of these cases where the second book suffers a little bit in a trilogy and then the third one catches up again. We'll see. But for me, it was less good than the first book. I did enjoy to see a little bit more of the fairy world because we get to see the undersea, which was super interesting, but I felt like everything was a little bit repetitive and a little bit too much involving just the politics of the throne in a way, and it was just not as fun and as enjoyable as the first one for me. I'm not saying it was a bad book, but you know, I was expecting more from it. I do have the third book, so I will be finishing the trilogy soon just to see what I think of the overall trilogy, and I will let you know. Next, with 3.5, we have Suffer the Children by Joan Sewell, and this is a book that until the last like 50 pages or so, I was going to give this book at least 4 coffee mugs, and then I had to take points down. The thing is, this book is a story about a family of 4, so mother, father, and 2 daughters. And one of the daughters, after a traumatic event, she doesn't speak anymore and she goes to a special school while they are trying to help her to cope and to talk again. And in this little town where they live, there's been legends for generations about this cave, and you know, the children are warned not to go there. And so, you know, when children start to disappear in this small town, everybody is freaked out. And the plot and the story starts very slow, so it's a very slow burn book until the very end. I was enjoying it a lot. It was very creepy. I love the creepy children. I love how disturbing it was getting. And then towards the end, there is some decisions that are made about, you know, who did the crimes and things like that, that I was just like, it just deflated the balloon for me, you know, when you're like all excited, enjoying it, and then something happens and you're like, huh. That's what happened with this book, and I did not really enjoy the ending, so that's what I only gave it 3.5. But overall, you know, I really enjoy the character and the stories nearly to the very end, but not quite. So yeah, but you know, here I have to give warnings and disclaimers for child abuse, child murder, what else we have? Oh, animal abuse and murder as well, so all of these things. Then thanks to NetGalley, I was able to read the graphic novel Rose, which I gave 4 coffee mugs because it was really enjoyable. It was short, but I really liked it. Apart from having beautiful graphics, this is about Rose, who since an early age she has been able to kind of split, so her spirit kind of goes out of her body and she's able to see, you know, herself and everybody else without them noticing. And you know, when she gets older, her father is murdered, and she decides that she wants to help the police figure out who killed her father. And you know, she realizes that she's able to see ghosts and spirits, so it's kind of like a really nice mystery with a little bit of supernatural in it. And I believe it's going to be a 3-part graphic novel only, even though it is part 1 is very short, but it's one that I would definitely like to finish. Another one that got 4 coffee mugs from me is The Archived by Victoria Schwab. This is a duology that I've wanted to start since forever because I really like Victoria Schwab's stories, and this particular story really attracted me, so I finally picked it up and I'm glad because I really enjoyed it. The Archived has an amazing concept. It is, you know, kind of trying to answer the questions of, you know, what would happen if we would keep our bodies after we die with all of our memories there, sort of like a library. So basically there is this world in which specific people can cross to, and there is like this huge library full of dead bodies, and you can check their memories and what happened to them anytime. It's kind of like a library, and the concept is fantastic, and I love that she takes her time to explain who are these people, who are the keepers, who are, you know, the librarians, what do they do, and the world building is amazing. I absolutely loved it, and we're following the story of a girl that is a keeper. So she has a little key, and she kind of helps when somebody gets out of their box to put them back into the library. And it is just such a wonderful story. There is great exploration as well about friendship and, you know, grieving, and do we really want to see our deceased like this, or is it better if they just disappear? You know, it's just touching so many interesting topics, and I really loved it. And it is a great adventure as well, with the supernatural. And if you like all of these things, you definitely should pick it up. With 4.5 coffee mugs, I finally got to read The Institute by Stephen King. So we all know that Stephen King has been moving towards a little bit more into the thriller genre, but this book still has a couple of traces of horror. Would I consider it 100% only horror? Probably not, but I still appreciated all the little, you know, horror splashes that it had and supernatural splashes. I really loved it. I know a lot of people did not enjoy it because it is true that Stephen King's style has changed a little bit over the years, especially the last couple of years, but I really did enjoy it. It is about Luke. He is 12 years old and he's way too smart for his age, and he realizes also that sometimes he can move things with his mind. And so Luke is getting ready to get into a new school where he can actually be challenged, because where he is right now he's just too smart. And basically before he gets a chance to go there, he's being kidnapped and he's being taken to this place called the Institute. So in the Institute we have people that are experimenting on kids that have specific abilities or powers. And so there is a beautiful, you know, array of characters that develop friendships with each other, the kids with different ages, and I really enjoyed it. There were hints to older books from Stephen King like The Shining, Dr. Sleep, The Green Mile. I just kept seeing things that I was like, wait a second, this reminds me of the Green Mile, and oh, wait a second, this is like from Dr. Sleep. And I absolutely love that as a King fan. If you're looking for a thriller with some just supernatural traces and little splashes of horror, I would still recommend you to give this one a try, even though it's not, for me, 100% horror. And the last one, and the one that got 5 coffee mugs, is In an Absent Dream by Shannon McGuire. This is book 4 on the Wayward Children series, and together with book 2, my favorite. If you don't know, first of all, the Wayward Children series is based on different stories from kids that have found a door to a different world and they cross it, and after spending some time in that specific fantasy world or, you know, parallel world that they end up in, when they come back to the real world after some time, they're having trouble to adapt to reality again. So they're being taken to Eleanor's school for wayward children. So that was kind of the base that was set on the first book, and after that the series has been focusing on different characters that were some of them introduced on that first book. In this book we're following Lundy, and we're following her while she finds her first door to this goblin market, and she finds herself in a completely different world with different rules, with, you know, with creatures that she cannot explain, and she's loving every bit of it. So when she goes back to the real world, she starts to feel uncomfortable again, like she doesn't belong, and she's always looking again for this door to go back to this fantasy world. And this specific story was just so good when it came to, you know, give really good life advice, and I thought it was so beautifully written, and the story had so many good values as well. This was the perfect, short, nice, magical story. It was fantastic. I loved every bit of it. And so if you're looking for like shorter books that include different worlds and magic and all of these, I would definitely recommend you to check this series. So these were all the books that I read in January, except the mysterious book that you will have to wait until December to find out what that's all about. I'm sorry for the long wait, and I hope that when I release that video you guys are excited for it. So let me know down below, as always, what is your favorite read from the month of January. Let me know what you have been reading in the month of January in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your support, guys. Please give the video a big thumbs up, and also if you're new here, subscribe and also hit the notification bell before you leave. If you want to follow me on other social media, I do have Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Goodreads. The links to those, as always, are in the description box down below. And I hope to see you all in the next coffee time. Bye!